You got everything you need? All right, it is 6:30. We will call the August council meeting to order at this time. Welcome to those in attendance, those watching at home, and the common council. At this time, we'll have the clerk call the roll.
Bolt. Here. Vanderkin.
Here.
Katarabik. Here. Fry.
Here.
Reckelberg. Here. Sikowitz.
Here.
Beeman.
Here.
Schley. Cummings.
Here.
Sakala.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you, and Alderman Schley is excused this evening. At this time, will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? And if you could remain standing after the pledge for a prayer by our council president, Steve Sakala. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
O God, you who make things new again and again, enliven the thoughts of our minds, revitalize the cells of our bodies, and cause a fresh outburst of praise to surge in our hearts so that we may taste the life that is truly life this day. In the name of the one whose face is like the shining sun, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Council President Sakala. We have a few presentations this evening, so we will start with Police Department badge pinning of Officer Matthew Bowman and Officer Jacob Shilcox. So if both would like to come up at this time, and if there are any Manitowoc Police Department employees here who wants to join, we will take this one first.
Ready? Okay, so we'll start with your oath. You can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Matthew James Bowman,
I, Matthew James Ballman,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of police officer for the City of Manitowoc
of police officer for the City of Manitowoc
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, this was.
Okay. Congratulations. Thank you, sir.
You ready?
Yep.
Raise your right hand, repeat after me, please. I, Jacob Paul Shilcox,
I, Jacob Paul Shilcox,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of police officer for the City of Manitowoc
as police officer of the City of Manitowoc
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, good job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You want to go introduce yourself to the council? Yep. You, because I got to read it. All right. Yeah. Congratulations, Officers Bauman and Shilcox. We also now have the pleasure of some promotions in the Manitowoc Fire Department for Lieutenant Adam Thiel, Motor Pump Operator Tammy Hale, and Motor Pump Operator Kelvin Wilkie, along with Motor Pump Operator Kevin Fabian. So if you all would like to come forward, and if there's any other personnel from the Manitowoc Fire and Rescue Department that want to come up, and families, we will start with Lieutenant Adam Thiel.
I'll let everybody get situated first. You ready? Ready. All right, if you please raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Adam Thiel,
I, Adam Thiel,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Fire Lieutenant for the City of Manitowoc
of Fire Lieutenant for the City of Manitowoc
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Could I get just your signature on that top line, please? Just this line right here, I'll get this. Thank you. All right, you ready? Please raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Tammy Hale,
I, Tammy Holly,
sorry, I was following Mayor's lead, solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of motor pump operator for the City of Manitowoc
of motor pump operator for the City of Manitowoc
to the best of my
to
ability,
the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Could I take your signature just on this top line, please? Thank you.
Thanks.
Ready?
Why not?
All right. Please raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Kevin Wilkie,
I, Kevin Wilkie,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of motor pump operator for the City of Manitowoc
of motor pump operator for the City of Manitowoc
to the best of my
to
ability,
the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. If you could just sign that top line. Thank you. You ready? All right. I, Kevin Fabian,
I, Kevin Fabian,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of motor pump operator for the City of Manitowoc
of motor pump operator for the City of Manitowoc
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Kevin, can I get your signature just on this top line, please?
Sign it.
Yeah, just this top line. Thank you.
right, congratulations to all those who received promotions in our police and fire departments. All right, we have a fun presentation now for a young gentleman in the city of Manitowoc, Braden Honeycutt. So if everyone from the Manitowoc Fire Department and Braden and his family could come up, would truly appreciate it. Come on down. Don't be as nervous as those last guys. You can come over here, actually, if you want. Yeah. So I'll read the commendation, and I think I want the chief to say a couple of words too, since he's so eloquent in his words. But it's a fun. This is an honor, actually, to see our young citizens stepping up in our community. So the commendation reads: whereas on July 5th, 2022, at 3:20 p.m. Patricia Shettle had just returned home, was walking in her garage, lost her balance, and fell backward, hitting the back of her head on the garage floor. And whereas Patricia was losing a significant amount of blood and was unable to get herself up or kneel due to the slippery floor conditions. And whereas Patricia dragged herself slowly to the front of the garage while calling for help. And whereas nearby Braden Honeycutt was getting ready for a bike ride with his grandmother, Reba Hale, when Braden heard Patricia's calls for help and was able to lead his grandmother to Patricia's garage as he listened carefully to the direction of Patricia's voice. Whereas upon discovering Patricia, Reba used Patricia's coat to put pressure on the back of her head and called 911 while Braden helped keep an eye out and directed the ambulance when they arrived. And whereas Braden also spoke with neighbors Ryan and Becky Belinsky, who were unaware of the situation, but then came to Patricia's aid by cleaning the garage floor where the incident had taken place. And whereas Braden's selfless energy, awareness of his surroundings, and willingness to help allowed him to come to the aid of Patricia. Now therefore I, Justin Nichols, Mayor of the City of Manitowoc, do hereby commend Braden Honeycutt for his quick thinking, fearless action, and for helping a neighbor in need. Chief, you want to say a couple words too?
Well, actually, it is a big thank you, and this is very special. Braden, I know, was a little hesitant or a little shy here to come up here for this, but really with him coming here today, it's a wonderful opportunity, and not to speak for Chief Reimer, but the job that we're proud of what everybody with the public safety, police and fire both do here for the community is just wonderful, but it takes many more people to make us successful, and this is just one of those examples of Braden with a keen sense of hearing and Reba coming to the aid with the 911 call and neighbors coming to take care of the garage after everything's were done. It's kind of one of those just examples of just what kind of makes Manitowoc a special place and just something really nice that the mayor and the council are celebrating this with us this evening as well. And Braden, great things ahead for you and good luck in whatever you do, and we'll have a job ready for you when you're ready. All right, thank you.
Picture? Is this the official photographer right here? Let's go up a little bit.
He's the paparazzi. Yep.
He's the paparazzi. You're gonna be a good politician too. Chief, you wanna get in on this? Family, of course, always come on in over here. All right. He's gonna be behind the back. Very good. All right. That's why the future's pretty bright in Manitowoc, I would say. All right. We have one more presentation this evening too, and that is for Angel Her, who was honored to be selected as Miss Hmong USA America Nation 2022 and Miss America Nation 2022. So we're gonna let the firefighters get out of here quick. It's as if they have a fire they're going to. Angel, if you'd like to come up, I would like to present you with something fun. So a little bit about this, who Angel is, and the titles that she has. So she got involved in the American Kids Multicultural World and Miss and Mr. American Nation organizations after hearing about them on Facebook. She was inspired by the unique organization and pageant system. This particular pageant focuses on embracing your cultural roots, anti-bullying, uniting as one in a diverse nation, and helping to make a difference while helping others and participating in organizations that they feel strongly about. The process Angel had to go through after applying was extensive face-to-face question and answer sessions, describing what being a Hmong American teen means to her, how the Hmong culture is different from others, as well as how and why she'd represent the Hmong and local community if she was chosen to be crowned. Her duties during her reign are to represent her Hmong culture, educate others about her culture, help others who may be struggling with accepting and embracing their cultural background due to being bullied, educate others about the effects of bullying, and volunteering in the community. This is quite an honor and privilege to be crowned this, so I want to present Angel with a key to the city. Would you like to say a few words? No? All right. That's all right. She would decline to say a few words, but that's okay. Congratulations once again. It's quite an honor. Absolutely. All right, that exhausts all the presentations we have this evening. We have, let's see here, we have no public hearings, so we'll move to public input. If there was anyone from the public interested in speaking on anything germane to the business of the city of Manitowoc, you may do so at this time. Is there anyone interested in speaking? Anyone interested in speaking? Going once, twice? We'll close public input. We'll move to appointments. I have two appointments this evening, Crime Prevention Committee, Nathan Hay, and Transit Commission, Brian Portson. I would look for a motion to approve those appointments.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. We'll move to the consent agenda. Anything to be removed from the consent agenda? And I look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. We'll move to page 8 of the agenda, item I, committee reports. We will start with Committee of the Whole and Council President Steve Sakala.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The clerk has our documents.
Document 700, which is a report of the Special Events Committee with various special events in the city of Manitowoc. Committee returns same, recommending approval.
What's your pleasure on this report?
Move to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Anything else? Council President Sakala.
No, Mr. Mayor, that concludes our business.
Thank you. We'll move then to the Finance Committee and Alderman Jim Bry as chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The clerk has the documents, but we're going to start off first with your permission, the 2021 CAFR, also known as the, excuse me, Comprehensive Financial Annual Report. We do have a representative from Kerber Rose here online who will be given the report. So your permission, we can go
absolutely.
forward with that.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. My name is David Minch. I'm a senior manager with Kerber Rose. As I think you're well aware, this is the first year that the city is contracted with Kerber Rose to perform the financial audit for the year. So I just wanted to first and foremost thank Kim and the rest of the finance and accounting department for all their hard work in helping us to complete the audit and the financial statements for the city this year. Anytime there's a change in auditors, there's a significant time commitment both on their end and our end. And from our standpoint, it went very seamlessly. Everything was prepared for us well in advance. We were able to work together very well to get everything completed. So with that tonight, I'm going to go through the annual comprehensive financial report as well as the management letter. And the intent is tonight just to give you a high-level overview of some significant things in the financial statements to allow you guys to see and recap how the year went. So I'll start with the annual comprehensive financial statement. This is the larger of two documents that you have. I'm not sure if you have them electronically or a hard copy in front of you, or I could share my screen if you don't have access to that. Does anybody have a preference on that?
We do have access electronically and physically, so, but everybody does have
Okay.
access, yes.
Okay, great. Well, when I refer to page numbers, I will refer to both the PDF page and also the printed page on the bottom to give everybody the ease, regardless of what you're looking at. But start off by looking at the annual comprehensive financial report. We'll jump to printed page 1 or PDF page 16. This is the independent auditor's report. This is essentially why the city has a financial statement audit done, and that is to receive an opinion on your financial statements. Our opinion is listed as the first two paragraphs, but to reiterate, the starting of the second paragraph states that in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. So what this means is that this is a clean opinion, or in other words, the highest level of assurance that we can provide on a set of financial statements. It just simply states that in our opinion, they're materially correct. This independent auditor's report states that our audit was done in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America, and the standards applicable to financial audits contained in the governmental audit standards. So we have to do it under governmental accounting standards because you are subject to a federal compliance audit. This report also talks about management's responsibility, and ultimately you're responsible for the fair presentation and preparation of the financial statements. And our responsibility as auditors is simply to express an opinion on your financial statement, which we did, and this is illustrated by going through this report right here. Looking at page 2 and 3, or PDFs page 17 and 18, the rest of this report talks about all the other pages that are presented in the annual comprehensive report. There's things that are considered supplementary information, which on page 2, the last sentence states that we do not express an opinion on this information. We do review and tie this information out as part of our audit, but audit standards state that we simply do not express an opinion on that. And then printed page 3 or PDF page talks about the supplementary information and the other information that is presented in here. Again, this is all set forth by governmental accounting standards as far as where it needs to be in your financial statements. But in regards to the supplementary information, we do provide an in relation to opinion in regards to the financial statements. And then last but not least, on the opinion, the last paragraph just talks about other reporting required by governmental auditing standards. As I just previously mentioned, the city is subject to a federal single audit or a federal compliance audit. And this just states that we issued our report dated July 29th in regards to that, regarding the internal control and then also the compliance testing that was done. We'll cover those a little bit later as they're presented in this annual comprehensive report. But does anybody have any questions on the opinion? All right, I'll take silence as a no and move on here then. Starting on PDF page 20, or the page number is MD&A 1. This is the management's discussion and analysis. This is prepared by Kim and the finance team here. And what this is this is intended to be a financial recap of what happened during the year. So if you have any questions about any changes and balances, I would highly recommend reading the management's discussion and analysis, as this kind of from the 1,000-foot view gives you the understanding of what went on during the year and what changed over the course of the prior year, 2021. All right, now we'll jump to PDF page 33 or printed page number 4. This is the statement of net position or your government-wide financial statements. Essentially, this is the balance sheet. This is prepared on the full accrual basis of accounting. So what that means is this has things presented such as your capital assets, your long-term debt, the pension and OPEB related items. This doesn't reflect how you budget. We're required to present this based on generally accepted auditing standards and the government auditing standards. So I just wanted to point this out, that this balance sheet or statement of net position is presented on a full accrual basis of accounting. So it isn't going to line up necessarily with how you budget throughout the year. But we prepare this statement with all the information that is presented by the city, and ultimately just assist in preparing this financial statement. Looking at printed page number 5 and number 6, or PDF page 35 and 36. This is the statement of activities for your full accrual financial statements, or in other words, this is the income statement that corresponds with that statement of net position that we just talked about. Now we'll jump to page 37, or PDF page 37 and 38, or printed page 7 and 8. This is the balance sheet for all of the city's governmental funds. As the basic financial statements here in the front, this presents your major governmental funds, and then the sum of all the remaining funds in the aggregate, which is noted as the non-major governmental funds on page 8. There's a combining schedule later on in the financial statements that lists out the balance sheet for all the funds, but based on the authoritative guidance that we follow for preparation of the financial statements and government accounting standards, we're only required to disclose the major governmental funds as part of your basic financial statements. But as part of this, the largest component of it is your general fund, which is illustrated on page 7. A couple things I just wanted to point out here. At December 31st, 2021, the total fund balance in your general fund was about $9.1 million. This is a slight decrease of about $550,000 when we look at the ending fund balance at December 31st, 2020. But overall, this decrease was actually budgeted for. I believe there was about a $1.4 million use of fund balance, or a deficit. So even though the general fund balance did come down, it did perform better than what was budgeted for. And as auditors, one thing we like to do is gauge the health, or where the general fund stands at the end of the year. And we do this by looking at your unassigned fund balance at the end of the year. At the end of the year, it was about $5.9 million. And the unassigned component to this is largely your operating resources that allow the general fund to cash flow the vast majority of operations for the city. So at $5.9 million, we look at what your total general fund expenditures were for the year, and that was about just over $27 million. So the unassigned component of that is sitting at 22%. Which from my standpoint as an auditor is a very healthy unassigned fund balance to allow the city to carry on operations and cash flow itself until various resources come in throughout the year. Looking at page 8, I just wanted to highlight your total fund balance down towards the end. And again, this is the sum of all of the fund balances for all of the governmental funds. It was about $25.5 million at the end of the year. This is an increase of about $2.8 million, which is largely due to having some unspent bond proceeds in some of your KID funds. So during 2022, I would expect that fund balance may come down, obviously largely dependent on what type of activity happens throughout the year, but that could very well come down. But again, nothing to be alarmed at from my standpoint. All right, jumping to printed page 10 and 11, or PDF page 41 and 42. This is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for your governmental funds. On this page, down towards the bottom, you can see that the general fund did decrease by about $550,000 this year. And on page 11, you can see that the overall fund balance did increase, in fact, about $2.8 million this year. All right, now we'll bounce ahead to printed page 14 and 15. This is PDF page 45 and 46. This statement is the statement of net position for the proprietary funds or the business type funds. This includes your water, electric, wastewater, and then the non-major proprietary funds presented in the aggregate on page 15. But overall, if we look at the bottom, again, looking at net position, it was about $244.5 million at the end of the year. This was an increase of about $5.3 million. So overall, all of the proprietary funds, again, had a very strong operating year, which is further shown in detail on printed page 16 and 17. This is on this page, it shows your statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position, or again, essentially your income statement for your proprietary funds. If you look at the change in net position, this kind of overall reflects, what happened to that fund balance. The water utility did have a slight decrease, largely due to some of the transfer out, which is mainly your property tax equivalent that is recorded there. But from the auditor standpoint, all of the proprietary funds or the utility funds had a very strong operating year once again. All right, jumping ahead to printed page 22 or PDF page 53. This starts the notes to your financial statements. This is going to be a good portion of this annual comprehensive report. The notes basically substantiate a lot of the balances that are presented in the basic financial statements. So if you look through this, you're going to see your footnotes related to cash, capital assets, long-term debt, those pension and OPEB related items that are presented on your full accrual set of financial statements. There was nothing from my standpoint that stood out that would warrant some additional discussion regarding this. So for the sake of time, we'll keep moving along here. We will jump to printed page. Bear with me 1 second here as I scroll down to get to the correct page number. It is printed page 171 or PDF page 208. And this is the independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and then compliance. As auditors, we're not required to audit your internal control. Rather, we're required to gain an understanding of your internal control and evaluate that and evaluate any deficiencies that we may run into or identify to see if it meets the definition of a material weakness, a significant deficiency, or just simply an other matter. I'm pleased to report that this is a clean opinion. We did not identify any instances of internal control weakness while we were planning or performing our audit. So again, a clean report on the internal control report. Starting on printed page 173 or PDF page 210, this is the independent auditor's report on compliance for each major federal and state program. I mentioned that the city is required to have a federal compliance audit done or a single audit performed, which we're required to evaluate the total federal expenditures and then see which program we have to test to make sure that all of the expenditures are allowable per the grant agreement. And then Wisconsin state statutes also state that if you're required to have a federal single audit, you're required to have a state a single audit as well, because there's state funding that the city of Manitowoc receives. I'm pleased to report that this is a clean report. We noted no instances of non-compliance, both on the federal and the state side. So what that means is that all of the expenditures claimed or reported under those various grants that we tested were allowable and met the definition as required in the grant agreements. So clean report again on this. The remainder of this document has the schedule of the federal expenditures and then the schedule of state financial assistance. And then it also illustrates which programs on the federal side and the state side that we tested. And then it just states that there is no other information that we deemed necessary to communicate as part of the financial statements. Does anybody have any questions on the annual comprehensive financial report?
Alderman Bryant, it's still your floor.
We're good at this time. For no questions from the committee,
Okay.
from common council members or aldermen, I should say.
Okay, just the last item that we'll briefly go through is the second of the two documents. This is the management representation letter that we issue at the conclusion of all of our audits. Essentially what this report is just a recap of what we indicated that we would do as part of our engagement letter. This document again talks about our responsibilities as auditors. It talks about the audit scope, significant risks, and other items that we identified as part of our audit. On page 2 of this report, I just want to bring this to your attention because this is a new requirement set forth by SAS 134 for us. We are, as auditors, required to bring to management's attention any significant or fraudulent risks that we identify as part of planning our audit. On page 2, the second point states that we identified management override of controls, improper revenue recognition, and misuse of credit cards. I bring this to your attention because I've had a couple boards read this and state, well, you said we had a clean internal control report, but you identified these as risks. We're simply required to identify or bring to your attention anything that we identify from a planning standpoint that could have an elevated risk related to the city's audit. So the management override of control and improper revenue recognition, we're required to identify those for all audits that we conduct. We identify misuse of credit cards as just an inherently more risky area because in our past experience working on governmental municipalities, this is where some of the fraud, theft, things like that can occur. So all this simply means to your standpoint is that we performed some additional procedures on there and we verified that there was no elevated risks related to that. So just wanted to point that out to you guys that it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong or anything going on with anything that we identified as part of our audit. The rest of this report talks about the significant accounting estimates that are disclosed in your financial statements. Auditing standards do allow us to consider certain things significant estimates. It states that we had no difficulties performing the audit. We had no material misstatements identified during our audit. We didn't have any disagreements with management, and management has signed the representation letter, ultimately accepting responsibility for the financial statements that we just went over. Again, it states that we had no internal control issues to note. And then starting on page 4 and the remainder of this document creates a nice illustration as far as what your overall total fund balances were for all of your funds, both on the governmental side and your proprietary funds. So it just creates a nice snapshot for you guys to look at to assist maybe in any budgeting decisions moving forward. So that concludes my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now. Or if anything comes up after this meeting, feel free to pass those along to Kim and we will gladly promptly respond to any questions that may come up.
Alderman Reckelberg. Is your green? Yep.
Just a question. I noticed that on the financial statements where you get into the equity section, every time you use net changes or having to do with the opening fund balance, you use the word at the end, restated. I'm trying to understand why is it restated, because I'm not seeing notes or accounting changes or...
Yes, absolutely. I apologize for not bringing that to your attention. In our footnotes on page... let me see here. I do have it. On page 60 or PDF page 91, as auditors, we are, every audit firm has a different evaluation of the way standards are portrayed. And being that this was our first year of the audit, there were these revolving loans out there related to the community block development grants that were offset with the deferred inflow of resources. And we have received, some of our other clients have received CAFR comments stating that there should not be a deferred outflow of resources for anything other than what they mentioned in the standard. So what we did for this is we restated the beginning fund balance in the Housing Revolving Loans Fund, the HCRI Revolving Loan Fund, and the Debt Service Loan Fund to back those off the balance sheet and recognize those in fund balance. So again, it's not an error on the city's part or anything like that. We had multiple discussions with Kim and provided some authoritative literature to come to an agreement that, yep, that's correct. We should not be presenting these as a deferred inflow of resources. Rather, it should be in fund balance, showed as a restricted fund balance.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? All right, then thank you very much for the presentation.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Enjoy your evening.
Yeah, thank you. You as well. We will then bring this document forward.
2021 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report with Auditor's Report. Committee return same, recommending to approve the report and place on file.
Council pleasure on this report.
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 578 is a possible discussion and action on remediation at former Miro site 1512 Washington Street. Committee returns same, recommending to enter into the agreement with Godfrey and Kahn.
Council pleasure on this report.
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 682 is a request for extension of premise for Renegades LLC located at 1421 South 39th Street for an event on September 10th, 2022. Committee returns same, recommending approval.
Council pleasure on this report.
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 683 is a request for an extension of premise for Moore's Pub LLC located at 811 J Street for an event on September 17th, 2022. Committee returns same, recommending approval.
Council pleasure on this report.
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 685 is a request for an extension of premise for the Eagles Club located at 823 Hamilton Street for an event on October 8th, 2022. Committee returns same, recommending approval.
Council pleasure on this report.
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 692 is an update from Manitowoc Public Utilities on the wastewater treatment facility. Committee returns same, recommending to place on file.
Council pleasure on this report.
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Anything else, Alderman Bry?
Yes, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor, I guess, but our next Finance Committee meeting will be Tuesday, September 6th, 5:30 PM in this chamber, so thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll move then to the Personnel Committee, and Alderman Eric Sitkowitz is chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The clerk has the documents.
Document 695 is an ordinance to amend Section 3.010, Section 8, to set the salary for common council members. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the resolution.
Ordinance or resolution?
Oh. Ordinance.
Ordinance, yeah.
Sorry.
Council, your pleasure on this ordinance.
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. Alderman Reckelberg.
Well, when I first saw this on our agenda, I represent District 10. I knew that being a conservative area, I figured, I saw this on the agenda, it's very simple, I'll vote no. And then after I said that to myself, I took the other approach that I always do, is I'm there to represent my district, not my view. So I thought what I would do is everybody that I had the opportunity seeing having them mow their lawn or sitting on their porch or whatever. In fact, I even got and drove around the car and pulled over to the curb if they were cutting their lawn, and I posed a question to quite a few people. And I explained that the Personnel Committee was bringing this forward, and my inclination was to vote no, but I represent them, and I found it very enlightening that a number of people asked some very intelligent questions. How much time do you spend doing this? How many meetings you attend? I explained to them that's mine, but I realized there's probably other aldermen that probably do more than I do, or maybe a little bit less. And after doing that, I found out that all but about 3 people that I've conversed with gave me the okay to vote yes on this. And I know it's a controversial issue when a elected official votes on their own salary, but I'll be honest with you, I feel very comfortable when the vote comes, voting yes based on what my district has given me the feedback on. And like I said, I was a little bit taken aback where the conservatives were telling me, yes, by all means, it makes sense. And I had a couple very liberal people that used some choice language to tell me to vote no, but I will be voting yes on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Reckelberg. Alderman Sitkowitz.
Thank you, and I appreciate Alderman Reckelberg's comments. There's just one thing I want to correct. So it's you're not voting on your own salary increase. It takes effect the next term for whoever is in the seats. So, for example, District 6 is not up in April of '23, so whoever would run for April of '24, that's when that would take effect. Some would be April of '23, half the council every year. So nobody up here gets an adjustment halfway through the month. Nobody can say next month you're making more. It's just taking a look at something we do on an annual basis at the Personnel Committee. We do for all elected officials on an annual basis. This is the first year since quite some time that we made any adjustment. The last adjustment was the electronic device that's in front of us. That wasn't as much of a perk for council as it was for a savings to the city in resources. We save a lot in the amount of paper that gets distributed to the alders, as well as the resources spent accumulating that paper for the alders. So prior to that, I think it was 2007 was the last time it was adjusted. And that was interesting enough, a discussion less around the salary, but more around a benefit of health insurance. That did not come to fruition as well either. So I think in my time in the council, this is the 3rd time that it's being looked at. And this year we did a much further extensive reach to have the HR department take a look and see what comparables were. That's something we hadn't done in the past. So normally we would just file it and move on. But I thought it'd be an opportunity to take a look at it and find out where other municipalities are. Not that that's always our watermark, but when you're substantially different, I think that becomes a watermark. So by no means are we increasing it to the largest salary that is out there, not even close. So I would encourage your support. So thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sitkowitz. Alderman Cummings.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am on the Personnel Committee, and I did get access to, obviously, all the comps that were for this decision. What I ended up doing is taking a look at all the comps, researching all the cities for anything that was similar or smaller in size. And Neenah, Oconomowoc, Pewaukee, Sun Prairie, and Stevens Point all have relatively around what we are going to for their compensation for their city councils. So that's the data-driven approach that I took in my recommendation to the chairperson. That'd be it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Bry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess as the senior alderman here who has been involved in this many times, it is one of the most difficult votes that an alderman can take up here. And I'm glad Alderman Sitkowitz pointed out that we're not voting on our salary, we're voting on the position's salary. I led the effort the first time back in the early 2000s to increase it by $25, if I remember correctly, around that thing. And it was very interesting how much flack we got for it, and it did eventually go through. I didn't support several of the other ones over the past, and at this time, I'm not going to support this one, and I'm going to make a motion to amend, but we'll see how that goes. I certainly respect the work of the Personnel Committee. I certainly, the comparables, we have used comparables in the past. We have done that, at least on our own. At least I've looked at comparables for other communities in the past and done that. But essentially, almost a 50%, if not more, raise in one swoop to me is just too much, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So at this time, I'm going to make a motion to amend the ordinance to wherever it says $450 per month to the amount of $355 per month.
Okay, there is a motion to amend. Is there a second? So the motion to amend fails for a lack of a second. Alderman
enough.
Bry, you still have the floor.
Thank you again. So certainly respect the decision. I will not support this because although I do believe that the position of aldermen for the city of Manitowoc do deserve a raise, the positions, I think this is too much at one time, so I will not support it. But thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Bry. Any further discussion? Alderman Sakala.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the longest time, at least the last 4 years, when I was chairing this committee, Alder Sikowitz would kill this thing when it came up. When he was chairing, I would kill this thing when it came up. Well, it finally got to the point where, we need to do something. We'll just take a look at this last election, for instance. Alder Katarabik, we all ran unopposed, and she was the only non-incumbent to get involved. I think this would help getting more people involved in elections. I really do. It may not be the be-all, end-all. As far as the $450, when we came about that, at least in my mind, Point and West Bend are the two biggest comparables that we have. And we felt 450 falls right in the middle between Point and West Bend. Therefore, I think it's a fair number. And whoever's holding the seats, here for the next election, I think they deserve that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sakala. Any further discussion? Again, this requires a 3/4 vote, a supermajority vote of the council, so of the members present. So it requires 7 votes out of the 9 here to pass this evening. Any further discussion? That does not have to be roll call, correct?
No.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So the motion carries 8-1. Alder Bry voting no. Anything else, Alderman Sitkowitz?
That does complete our business in front of us, but I do want to remind everybody that in September, we have Labor Day on that first Monday, which is typically when the Personnel Committee meets. So our HR Director, Jesse, had sent out a updated meeting schedule to Thursday, the 8th, if we have something. I know that's a change in schedule, and that isn't always easy for everybody to accommodate. So if the agenda's light, I will look to cancel, and if it's not, we will look to meet. So, thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to the Public Infrastructure Committee, and Alderman Mike Cummings is chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The clerk has our documents.
We have document 686, financial assistance agreement for the 2022 lead service line program. Committee returns same, recommending to enter into the agreement.
What's your pleasure on this report?
Move to enter into the agreement.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 697 is municipal water installment agreements with various property owners. Committee returns same, recommending entering into the agreements.
What's your pleasure on this report?
Move to move into the agreement.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 698 is a resolution authorizing a harbor assistance program grant application. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the resolution.
What's your pleasure on this resolution?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Anything else, Alderman Cummings?
Nothing in front of us. However, I do want to bring something up that we had on the consent agenda. I just want to make sure that we're good with it. It'd be the 22-0647 Chiefs football field expansion. I did not bring it off the consent when we did that originally. I am the president of the Chiefs organization, so I want to make sure that there is no conflict of interest by just that piece of it, or if I need to move it off at this point.
It's already passed at this point, so we're good.
I just want to make sure we're all good with that. Okay,
If you make $1 million off of this expansion, then we probably should talk.
I will make $0 off of that, so,
And then I think we should be okay.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move to the Public Safety Committee, and Alderman Todd Reckelberg will be the chair this evening.
The clerk has our documents.
Document 661 is an ordinance to amend Chapter 31 of the Municipal Code regulating signs. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the ordinance.
Council pleasure on this ordinance.
Move for adoption of the committee's report.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 664 is a demolition permit request by McMahon, Inc., agent for Holy Family Convent of the Franciscan Sisters of Christian Charity for demolition of a structure in excess of 100,000 cubic feet located at 2406 South Alverno Road pursuant to Section 16.071B of the Municipal Code. Committee returns same, recommending to approve the request.
Council pleasure on this report.
Move for adoption of the committee's report.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 712 is an ordinance to revise parking in the city-owned parking lot adjacent to the wastewater treatment facility. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the ordinance.
Council pleasure on this ordinance.
Move for adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in. Yeah, Alderman Bry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I saw this, if I may, Alderman Reckelberg, I saw this on the agenda for the last public safety meeting. So I know there was concerns with the fishermen, in the parking lot down by the south side pier. So by changing this ordinance, what is it actually going to do to help them?
The problem right now is we don't have an ordinance on the books for no overnight parking.
Correct.
Even though it's just kind of always been that way. But since the car ferry now had to take over the entire lot due to Homeland Security, so it's all fenced off, there's no room for either overnight parkers for the car ferry anymore, which used to park in that lot. And so now they're overflowing into the fishermen's parking lot, and the fishermen used to park in the car ferry lot too.
Correct.
So this just gets on the books finally, that there is no overnight parking, even though it's always been that.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you for the explanation.
Yep, absolutely. We are looking at additional parking too with the car ferry because of this, because of the lack of overnight long-term parking in that whole area, and to accommodate the fishermen, but that's next year plus probably, so. All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. That exhausts our agenda. Is there any other business from the council at this time? Alderman Reckelberg.
I'd just like to comment, since Alder Schley isn't here, I know when we took up that item about the demolition out at the center there, it was not exactly something we did likingly. I mean, it's sad to see that what's happening, and I know he felt real bad about it, so that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other business? Seeing none, then a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.